Well, hello, everyone. How are y'all doing? I hope everybody is doing well, staying warm. I hope the weather is not too bad where you're at. We are nice and sunny today, but still very cold. Hello, Linda. Thank you for being here. Hi, Lori. There's Kathy and our brown eyed girls. How are you doing? Rockin' Rhonda. Hope you are doing well, sweetie. Hi, Miss Kathy. We got us a small group today, but that's all right. 2 inches in Panama City Beach yesterday. That is so awesome. I mean, that's like a once in a lifetime thing to see is snow at the beach. Well, hello, little Miss Sharon. How are you? Thank y'all for being here. Oh, I'm glad you like us over here, Linda. Thank you for being part of it. Well, I am having a very blah day today. So I apologize ahead of time if I'm just a little blah. It's one of those bad mama days where I woke up this morning and I could have swore I heard my son call out for me. And then as I got awake, reality hit. It was not him. It was just my mind playing tricks on me, I guess. So, yeah, Justin's live. I mean, I go to 3 o'clock so that I'm live before everybody else. And what happens? Justin's goes live at 3 o'clock. Silly him. But yeah, just having a really hard day today. And days like today, hi, Ida. Thank you for being here. Welcome from Idaho. Your birthday and anniversary is in 2 weeks. Well, good deal. Happy birthday and happy anniversary a couple of weeks early. And welcome, welcome. Hi, TJ. How are you? Oh, Linda, I'm so sorry for that. Then you know what I'm talking about. When you lose a child, you have those days, you wake up and it's just hard to function. And I swore the house was quiet and I swore I could hear his voice as I was waking up. And it was just one of those defeating moments when you realize it was just your imagination. Hi Sandra, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. It's like days like today. Rocket Rhonda says, did anyone else's city close totally down for a snowstorm? Ours did, and we didn't even get snow. So, but I was sitting here earlier thinking, we have a mother whose child is missing. Sebastian was supposedly in his bed by 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. When his mother woke up to go wake him up for school, he wasn't there. Hey, car guy. Hope you're well. Haven't seen you in a while. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Sandra. But the sheer terror of going into your child's room and he's supposed to be in his bed and he's not there. I mean, I could not begin to imagine the sheer panic. that first morning after my son had passed, and I was walking past his room, and I opened his door, and his room was empty. And the feeling of just knowing that he would never be back in that room again was the worst feeling in the whole entire world. But we have a mother who has had the opportunity to find her child. And from everything that we know, she's not doing a whole lot about it. Hey, Grace's Gavel. Welcome. I heard y'all got lots of snow. So pretty. But it's hard for me to comprehend a mother who doesn't know where her child is, has no definite answers as to where her child is. She goes on trips, several trips, leaves the home, leaves the last place her son was seen. Guys, that does not make sense to me at all. We know that Sebastian had a great weekend leading up to his disappearance. We know that the mother calls the stepfather and they contact together on a three-way call law enforcement. Who that law enforcement was, we have no idea because they've not been specific. We just know they did not call 911. From there, things just start going really strange because there's a text to his real father that says 911. Although we know that Katie and Chris both had access to a phone number to get a hold of the father directly while he's at work. It was asked about Sebastian and whether he knew if there was an emergency who to call. His mother tells us, yes, we've taught him that when there's an emergency, he needs to call 911. But yet his mother and his stepfather do not call 911. So is there not an emergency? That's a huge question that just lingers there because supposedly they make a call to Sumner County. Sumner County has an answering machine because they are not open until 8 o'clock. Their calls can be routed over to somewhere different, or they could have left a message. So did they contact a friend? I wonder, because there's rumors going around that there is an officer that lives directly behind them. And he possibly could have been the call they made. And he put out a call for dispatch. But to teach your child a 911 call is for emergencies, and then you don't have him, or you have him missing, and yet you do not call 911. It's those lingering questions that we know are just hang in there. we know that once the father gets off of work and gets to his phone, Grace, let me tell you, 911, it doesn't matter if you're in the county or not. They will direct your call to the precinct that is needed for your area. So instead of making a roundabout way of getting a hold of someone, all they had to have done is dial 911 and they would have got in touch with the right person. It's crazy because for me, I believe it was natural instinct to call a person on his cell phone that is in law enforcement. And it was the way it was put out to me, I took it as more of a distraction. No hurry, no emergency whatsoever. Because if you're in a panic mode, 911 is the 3 numbers that you will always remember. And yet they didn't call 911. I would like to know, who did they call? Who did they talk to? Because Sumner County Sheriff's Office wasn't open. Their call could have went to a service of some sorts that could have connected them to somewhere else, but what was that process? It's almost as if it's not important to them. And when Seth gets off of work and is able to get to his phone and call Chris to see what is going on with Sebastian, he gets the response of, "Don't be mad, but Sebastian's missing." Why would a father be mad if his child is missing? His father probably experienced pure panic for a minute. But anger, I don't think, would be an emotion that a parent would actually feel getting that call. And yet those were the exact words Chris used. So we know the father goes straight to, from where he lives, straight to Hendersonville, in the home of Sebastian that belongs to his mother and stepfather. He said when he walked in the door, he saw 3 pairs of shoes, and he knew Sebastian only had a pair of tennis shoes, a pair of boots, and some slides, because his foot was growing and they couldn't keep him in shoes. They were keeping him down to a bare minimum so that they could continue to make sure he had shoes. I remember those days with my boys. Their foot started growing. I couldn't keep them in shoes for just a little while there. And when Seth rounds the corner to where Katie is sitting with her mother-in-law and her sister-in-law, she puts her phone up into his face and says, "He was happy, see?" And shows him a picture of Sebastian taken that weekend. So here we have a mother that her child's missing, And she's trying to prove a point to his father that he was happy. What the heck was that about? Is my question, because you would think she would say, "Oh my gosh, Seth, I don't know where he is. I don't know what happened. I don't know where he would take off to. You have to help find him. We've got to find him." Those would have been the words of a mother who's lost her child. Instead of conversations going on between her and her mother-in-law and sister-in-law, where the mother-in-law talks about Chris buying her jewelry on their next vacation. It makes no sense. It doesn't sound like a home that is terrified, that is worried, that is scared for Sebastian. Yes, Linda, too many unanswered questions and lies, in my opinion. Yes. Brown Eyed Girl, you can almost only assume that it's all been premeditated. As I was sitting here today, just struggling through the day and almost having these panic attacks of just sorrow, I couldn't help but think about Katie and her actions. And it just aggravates the piss out of me because she has still, there's still hope that she has this opportunity to get her child back safe. But she's not acting as if he's going to come home safe. We know there's been a lot done from the very beginning when police got there. A lot of things that have happened during the search, a lot of things that were very confusing as to whether there were footprints or not footprints, whether there was a scent of Sebastian or not a scent of Sebastian. And yet, the truth still is missing. What is the truth of that search? Is there corruption within Sumner County? Is there that good old boy brotherhood type of thing happening? Chris goes for a ride with Sumner County TBI. The TBI there in Sumner County, he goes riding around with his buddy while they're doing a search. But yet he has not been cleared as a suspect. He remains a suspect. But they felt okay enough to let him ride in the car with them. That makes no sense whatsoever. Then you've got the ride Chris takes with Seth hours after Sebastian is reported missing. Chris says to him, "What are you going to do if it goes south?" Seth said he was confused and said, "What do you mean? I'll go south if it's down south." That's a father who would go anywhere to look for his child. And yet Chris replies, "What if he's dead?" Hours into this, still an opportunity to have his child found safe. And the stepfather is implying that Sebastian may be found dead. Guys, if y'all don't mind, hold on. Let me let my dog out. She's going crazy. Okay, sorry about that. She heard them grandbabies come in. She went crazy. So this is the story of Sebastian here. All the questions and all the difference between a grieving father that's ready at any moment to go south to look for his child if that's what's needed, and a stepfather who just outright says, what if he's dead? Hours after him being missing. There's no hope left in Chris and Katie's mind. When you have a grieving mother, it is deep. I can't speak about a father, but I know a mother is that person that's so attached to that child from the day they found out they're pregnant, feeling that baby grow in her belly, giving birth to the baby, feeding and nourishing that baby. But I don't see a bond between Katie and Sebastian. I don't know what their everyday home life was like for the two of them. All we have is the excuse me, the clips from Texas Roadhouse, and if that speaks about their interactions, she was very distracted away from her child. We have a father who cries on national TV, tears, because of the hurt that he feels. We've got, what was this? Did you hear that SF said, yes, there are lies? I can't trust. Yeah, I don't trust him. We learned a lot yesterday going back over some of that interview with their PI. And basically, we learned that he does not work with law enforcement. He is being paid. The retainer is in Chris and Katie Proudfoot's name. And all that says is he's here not for Sebastian, but for Katie and Chris. And he has evidence of their front door and whether you can see it open or shut. And he doesn't feel that we are owed that. To be able to put that one question to rest, would Sebastian have been seen walking out that front door on the camera from across the street? It's a yes or no question. Is it too dark to where you couldn't have seen him? But we're not owed that information, so that tells me they are not trying to clear Katie and Chris. They are trying to protect Katie and Chris. You have this group of true crime creators that have been doing cases for a good while on here, on this platform, and everything was fine. We would have different opinions on things. We would go about our ways. there wasn't a lot of hate. And then the TikTokers came in, made friends with Chris and Katie because, well, let's call it for what it is. They basically knew that that's the drama, that Katie and Chris are the drama in this case. And now they're so attached. They are so into making that paycheck that they turn things that are the God's honest truth into lies and put out straight lies as truth, all to protect Katie and Chris. The PI is now saying it was all a setup. He is mad because he went on the Lore Lodge to help clear things up and unite people. There is, at this point, no way both sides are going to unite. There's too much hate attached with the other side. They've lost the fact that Sebastian is the number one focus for us. And yet we are so horrible over here for what we do. We believe in Seth, a man who loves his child. And yet they believe in the person that was last seen with her son in the same home as her son. And they believe that she is grieving. I call it more probably on the guilt side than grief. Yes, car guy, exactly. SF is paid not to find, but to deny and deflect. Yes. That is his job, people. And if you expect him to come out here and do anything less than that, you're going to be disappointed because he's doing exactly what he was paid to do. I don't know if he was actually connected in some way to Katie and Chris prior to Sebastian going missing, but I do know this. He told us on the Lore Lodge that he was retained, officially being paid on November the 14th. Yet I listened to a live podcast with him, excuse me, saying in September he was being paid to find Sebastian. In October, he confirmed to someone else he was being paid. So when you can't even get the God's honest truth out of him as to when he was retained, then you know everything he says is going to be a deflection to keep from making his clients look bad. Hey, Diana and Lady 7 Up. Hey, Rhonda. Thank y'all all for coming in, Sweet Sativa and Randa. Thank y'all for being here. Everybody else, I appreciate y'all being here. He is Brandon. He is full of BS. Full of it. But what we do know is the mother of Sebastian, the stepfather of Sebastian, are paying someone to protect them, not to protect Sebastian. He said he's working for Sebastian, is what SF told us. He is working for Sebastian. If he was working for Sebastian, he would quit covering up for the last person that was seen with this child. It's absolutely disgusting. We have Seth over here that would do anything to find his son. He hired a private investigator, which we learned in September that SF would not take over sooner as the private investigator because Heather was a private investigator for Seth at the time. I always thought there was some connection with Heather and Chris and Katie, and I found it because she is currently helping SF, or she was in September. Hey, Mama Risa, how are you doing? Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I really appreciate you. Hey, Reserve Glitchin' and Dispatch Crystal. Hey, Tina girl. Yeah, we know the connection now. Yes. Hey, Holly. I tell you what, we're all going to need a padded room by the time this case is over with. We're going to be going so insane. But it's their fault. It's Katie and Chris's fault that they need to hire someone to protect them from their own stupidity. And I say that stupidity because what we do know comes from their words. Their words that they put out on all these broadcasts that they have done, all these YouTube lives, their words are what got them put into hot water. Their actions. Every one of us know that if you're a mother and your child is missing, you're not going to leave your home. Now they're in the process of selling their home. There's rumors that they are split up now. Folks, I'm telling you, I knew where my child was, and it took me 4 years to leave my home because I could not pack his room up. I could not pack my son's room. I couldn't allow anyone to go in there and move anything out of place. I wanted his room to stay the way he left it. After 3.5 years, I walked into his room and I was like, okay, I have to. I have to because I have to be able to move on in life, and having his room sit there the exact same as it always was, me going in there and just sitting, playing his music, laying across his bed, those things, they were holding me there. They weren't helping me. But I had time to process it all over that 3.5 years' time. Katie gave herself 1 week. 1 week, and she leaves the home that her son could have possibly came back home to if he was the one that left. Hey, Tabitha Star, how are you, sweetie? Hi, Caroline. Southern Soul, a fatal paper cut. How are you? Oh, it's okay, Diana. It's part of my life now. Having these bad days and just sadness, they just come out of the blue. And it's hard to fight through it. But I'm telling you, if my son had a chance that I could help find him and bring him back home, to see his face, to hold him in my arms, if there was the slightest chance, I would never, ever stop. Exactly, Holly. In my opinion, she says normal moms can never understand Katie's behavior. It is something that just doesn't make sense. It really does not make sense. It happened in 2020, Caroline. In February 10th, it'll be 5 years. And that day I may not be on. I always take that day and his birthday to just be. Oh, thank you, Mama Risa. Yeah, for those of you just coming in, I've had a bad day today. Just one of those mama days where I woke up, the house was nice and quiet, but I thought I heard my son call me. And then when I woke up completely, I had to realize it wasn't real. And so that just wears on a mama heart. And all day I keep thinking about Katie and am I being wrong about the way I feel about her? Yeah, I think you did, TJ. I don't want to be a bad person and call out a mother that's grieving. And I honestly feel like Katie probably is dealing with a form of grief, but I'm afraid her grief is mixed in with guilt. And I'm afraid her grief and her guilt are mixed in with panic about right now. Their marriage was not great to start with. We know that. We know that there was talk of a divorce prior to Sebastian going missing. And yet, whatever happened, they both know. So they have something that will attach them together forever and not in a good way. Hi, Mary. But what we know is Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers is still missing. He's still missing from his home. He went to bed. What was the thud? Was the thud something that made it to where he was easily accessible to carry out? Hi, Hoot 3. Hi, Judy C. Thank y'all for coming in. Hi, Terry. I think the thud in my mind is important. I think there was some form of a thud sound, but I don't think it was in any way connected to Sebastian playing with toys in his room. And for a mother to talk about her 15-year-old son playing with his toys in his room, why didn't she say he was building something with his Legos? Or why didn't she say he was probably in there on his Switch or something like that? Why do they always have to make Sebastian sound as if he is only about 7 years old? That's because they're trying to distance, and this is my opinion, they are trying to distance themselves away from the teenage Sebastian. They're trying to distance themselves away from the previous 5 CPS cases. They are trying to put that wedge there that is so deep and so big that maybe we'll all forget about it. But we're not. We're not. All the distractions they keep putting out there, all the different stories. Let's throw Seth under the bus. Now he has groomed Katie since she was 12 years old. My gosh, people, how sick are they? Let's make sure to bring up when there's 5,000 people in chat that Katie had 2 children that she disposed of. What in God's green earth does that have to do with finding Sebastian? Folks, that is information that we do not need to know. But yet, their PI that they pay, he puts that out there. The only reason he's putting it out there was to try to make Seth look bad, and all he did was make his client look worse. Because, folks, they met when they were young, but they didn't date until she was older. He did not start dating her when she was 12 years old. But yet they put that pedo attachment onto Seth because all that does is puts the bad spotlight on Seth. Let's show all of his work papers, his work history. Let's show his driver's license and his security card. Let's show his employment forms. Let's show his address, his phone number. Oh, let's throw in his home that he's not selling, but we'll say he's selling it. And what did that do to help Sebastian? Nothing, because his father, we know, his words, he's staying in his home because Sebastian will always have a place. He will know where to go to find a parent. Because when this house sells in Hendersonville, if Sebastian was to get away and to find his way there, there will be a whole different family living there. His mother and his stepdad won't be there. But his father has vowed to be there in that place as long as he possibly can. He has no plans to move because he wants his son to have his room. He wants his son to have his place to come to. That we know. But yet, Katie and Chris are moving on with their lives. Started week 1. Investigation started heating up. It started into an investigation. Has since turned to a criminal investigation. But it only took 7 days to know that that child did not walk off the front porch and vanish. Kids don't do that. And we have a child that people are wanting to say, well, maybe he was put in a home. Okay, if 3 parents couldn't afford to put their income together for him to be to pay for him to be in a home somewhere, pushed and locked away out in the country somewhere, one person wasn't going to be able to do it. We know he has medication that he would have to have filled. We know that there should be a track somewhere, a trace somewhere, if that child was getting medical attention to get his medication filled. Hey, YouTuber. We know that. Hang on just a second, guys, okay? Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Um, so we know that Sebastian and the likelihood of him being put somewhere and being taken care of is slim. We know that there's flashlights, headlights, cell phone lights, some sort of lights that move across from the backyard of the Proudfoot's home across what they call a common area to a waiting car. We know they go to the back of the car where the trunk is. We know one person gets in the car and the other person with the light runs back to the home of the Proudfoots. We see that with our own eyes. We know it's not a trash truck. We know that there was something happening that very night. We know it was not a trash truck. We know it was not an Uber driver. We're not stupid. There were 2 lights. One got in the car and left. The other runs back to the Proudfoot home. So what happened in that house that night? The most important, crucial time frame of Sebastian going missing, and there's 2 flashlights running across the back of the courtyard coming from the Proudfoot's home. The most important time frame of this whole entire case. And let's confuse it with a trash truck. Let's confuse it with Uber. Let's confuse it by saying the lady Bobby, the neighbor who spoke out, her son was waiting for Sebastian so that they could play flashlight tag. Folks, I'm going to tell you something. Flashlight tag, if you do not know, is all over the place. It's not fun with just 2 people. You're hiding every which way. You're not running a straight diagonal line with somebody else beside you with the flashlight. You're hiding so that flashlight does not shine on you, because then you're out. Flashlight tag does not happen in a straight diagonal line. But hey, that's what the investigator gets paid to do, right? He gets paid by whoever to protect the Proudfoots, to distract and to cause havoc. Because creating those scenarios does not help find Sebastian. It takes everybody on a squirrel hunt. Yes, he had school the next morning. And for me to hear them talk about Sebastian out there playing flashlight tag, it just pisses me off, because that child is more intelligent than they give him credit for. He is old enough, smart enough to know it's cold out there. I need to at least put a pair of shoes on. I need to at least put a jacket on. It's dang near in the 20s. It's cold out there. I need to take care of myself and prepare myself for going outside in this weather. Sebastian can do that. He's not a stupid child. He's an intelligent child. He knew not to walk out without any shoes. Yeah, he never went out before and made friends. How was it he knew that Bobby's son was going to be out there waiting? He didn't know Bobby's son. They didn't know him. But that is a distraction. But that's what he gets paid to do. Remember that. Of course, we are now the ones that are bad because we're attacking them. We are attacking the PI. I say, you're insulting my intelligence. You're insulting my brain. It's not hard to understand that you think you can put out stupid shit, and we're supposed to bow down and believe it all. Yes, Carol loves embroidery. Yes, Bobby's son was way older than him. Bobby's son was not going to be out playing flashlight tag. Yes, it's okay for them to attack Seth, but we're not supposed to attack them. I don't know if y'all feel this way, but I sure as heck do. I feel like we're fighting with a bunch of 6th and 7th graders. Yeah. I'm telling you, it does insult our intelligence, because they expect us to believe the stories that they come up with. Seth is this big, bad, mean, abusive creature. But yet, Seth didn't have 5 CPS filed against him and 1 open CPS case just prior to his son going missing. That would be Chris and Katie in their home. But we can't talk about that because then we would need proof.
Is she nip alive?
Mhm. They would need to see the proof. And for them to tell us anything about Seth, they're going to go back as far as they possibly can. We're talking before Sebastian is ever born. Why? Why is it necessary to go back before Sebastian was born? It will not help find him today, 16 years later. I agree, Miss Kathy. They are liars. Yeah, Tina girl. I'm with you on that one too. Yeah, Lori got timed out for green hearts. Yeah. But we were the bad people putting out threats. And most of us had green hearts in our comments. Green hearts are love for Sebastian. But you didn't see green hearts coming from them. But you know what? We shouldn't care about them. We shouldn't care what they're saying. We shouldn't care what they're doing. We shouldn't care how they're trying to betray Seth. But we have compassion here. We have hearts. We have a desire and a want for Sebastian to come home, and we have respect for his father who's actually grieving. And yet, Sebastian remains missing, guys. He remains lost out there somewhere. Whether he is alive and doing well and someone is taking care of him, or he is no longer with us. It needs to be found out one way or the other. After all this time, his dad deserves to know. His mother and his stepfather, they don't really care to know, I'm afraid, because they're the ones not begging for their child to be found. They're the ones that came on YouTube, go in here, go in there. Chris gets triggered, he'll jump on somebody's panel and spew off. And they're the ones making themselves look bad. But yet it's our fault for making them look bad. Then all of a sudden, they're in so deep because none of their stories are matching up. We're calling out the lies. We're proving that what they said is crap. And they go silent. A mother who can't remember the details of the very last time she saw her child, how it changes with each time she does a live. When she does an interview, it's always different. She was on the couch sleeping by 10:30. She was on the couch talking on the phone until Mr. Chris and up until midnight. She was talking to Sebastian at one point, and he actually talked back to her at another time. And she was studying for her school. So did all of that happen at the same time? Because that ain't possible. You can't be asleep at 10:30 but yet talk on the phone till midnight. You can't study for your work, for your school, and fall asleep at 10:30 while you're talking on the phone till midnight. And that's her memories, folks, of that last time she had with her son. The last moments she had with her son. She can't get it straight. She cannot talk to Sebastian's real father. And in my opinion, that's only because she cannot seem to keep her story straight. And she's afraid he will figure out that she is not telling the truth. People who pay attention to this case, they hear how Dog the bounty hunter, Nick the Hat, Hong, At Night Media, all of the things are coming into play. Of course, they think it's ridiculous and it's just all for show. But friends, you have to stop and think and give it credit to where credit's due. There was no updates, no anything, no Texas Roadhouse video until this whole group of people come in. Law enforcement was not worried at all about the footage from Texas Roadhouse. But yet they knew about Green Hoodie to question her. Isn't that something? Oh, thank you, Robin. And yet, nothing's being done. Nothing is being done about the Texas Roadhouse video, all the suspicious vehicles. How is it that law enforcement do not think it's important when they know for a fact that Katie went rushing up there after Dog and his team had a copy of the Texas Roadhouse video? She panicked. Her and SF run to Texas Roadhouse. She made a scene, yelling and screaming. She wanted that footage. What was she afraid of? What was she afraid of? What was she worried that someone might have seen? What was she worried that people would actually catch on to? Because if nothing at Roadhouse had anything to do with Sebastian going missing and her not looking guilty, she wouldn't have cared less. She would not have cared less, but she did. It was important that she get that video, she made a scene inside there. So what is it that happened at Texas Roadhouse that she wants to make sure is not figured out? Yes, Kim. She says, in my opinion, the Proudfoots hired SF Investigates to see what Ellie knows, but Ellie, they're not talking to him. They're not talking to him. And that's something. That's too funny. He led us on all this time. He made it out as if he had connections inside of Ellie, but he doesn't. The whole point of what we know is that, folks, we know a whole lot. We have talked it all the way through. We have looked at it seriously from an outside angle. We know that the father and or the stepfather and the mother have put out words that make themselves look guilty. Their actions by leaving home for weeks at a time make them look guilty. They have put themselves in this position and they are paying to have someone try to distract from all of the things they've done. It's just sickening. Yes, Robin, I'm sick of no justice. This case makes me sick. I agree. It's to the point to where, do we need to go in and sit down at the desk with law enforcement and do their work for them? All we can do, though, folks, is just to pray that they know what we know. Maybe they know more than we know. And with that, surely they're working behind the scenes to make things better. Because we want justice for little Sebastian. And I say little, he's a growing young man. But that smile, that beautiful soul, when he hears the music, he gets excited. That's who he was. Yeah, Robin. They got rid of all of his stuff, basically. It's what I'm hearing. And they're moving. That one blows me away because where's he supposed to come home to if he's like a few of the others that have gone missing over the years and they finally got loose and they said, I live here, my name is, and they were finally free. But Sebastian's home is no longer a home, no longer a place he can go to because, from what I understand, it's empty. Chris is staying in an apartment now, not where Katie's at, but I don't believe they're together. Yes, Robin, I know you are still fighting in courts for your daughter to this day. And yet we have Katie who can't fight for her son. It's absolutely disgusting. I can't understand it. And especially today when I've got that blah feeling inside of me and that sadness inside of me and the missing my son so bad that it hurts today. A little harder than it hurt yesterday. And there's a mother out there who doesn't seem to hurt at all, who will not speak the truth, who has decided you want some answers, you can ask my lawyer or you can go to the police department. When all she has to do is say, this is what happened that night. This is who the flashlights were. And it's funny how the one and only thing that was missing of Sebastian's was a tiny little flashlight, a keychain flashlight to be exact, a yellow one. And it did not work, according to Seth. It did not work. It was something for him to fiddle and play with his hand in his hands. But a flashlight, just like the two in the backyard, but he's only one person and has a teeny tiny flashlight that wouldn't illuminate nothing and did not work. So, no, we don't buy that he left out the back with his flashlight on. So, as you go through the days and the future lives and all the crap, if you hear negative against Seth, just know that you're hearing information against Sebastian. And that's not what we're here, folks. Here for, folks. We're here for Sebastian so that his story can be heard and his face can be shown, and people who don't know might come across this video when they Google Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers missing from Hendersonville, Tennessee. Almost done. Mm-hmm. How much longer? Hang on just a second, guys. My granddaughter just walked in. Let me talk to her for a second. Okay, guys, I was just given the command. I need to only be about 10 more minutes on here because a little miss wants to play Uno or Yahtzee. But we know a lot when it comes to Sebastian. Yeah, TJ, I better listen to her. We know a lot when it comes to Sebastian. We know a lot about his story and his life. But the only thing we don't know is what happened to him. What happened in those missing hours from the time they got home from the Texas Roadhouse until 6 a.m. the next morning? Because his mother can't tell us the God's honest truth. She doesn't seem to remember it. I think it's a more of a defense mechanism that kicks in to where she can't remember exactly, but it's because she's so guilty, in my opinion. Yes, Grace, yes. So sad that Kay chose a man over her flesh and blood son. And a lot of people have her as being this meek, mild person. I'm not sure about that, folks. You think about her position in the army that she had, and she was over and commanding over a group. She did all the work it took to get to where she was in her career in the Navy. And that's not an easy task. And we know that her husband, Mr. Chris, doesn't mix any words when he gets really angry and he reacts. I honestly wonder if he might have been home that night, snuck in while they were away at Texas Roadhouse, and when they got in the house, he was there. Or was he in the car when the car pulled up in the middle of the night and snuck across the backyard where it was the darkest to get in the house to get Sebastian out of the house? I go back and forth between the premeditated and the accidental. But those are questions that Katie and Chris can clear up. But instead of clearing up and putting the truth out there, they hire a private investigator, which I think is very telling because they could not afford to put Sebastian into a place that might help him, but they're going to put out money to pay someone to protect them. They're putting out money to save their ass, but they wouldn't put out money to help improve Sebastian's life. The lives that got screwed up in Katie and Chris's home while he was living in California. They don't have a great track record when it comes to children in their home. And if I was Faith's mother, Chris's child's mother, I would be terrified to allow my child to go and be with either of them. I agree, Mohawk Mom. I don't see him paying anything. I see Mommy Bowersox paying to protect her son. And I see when when SF was asked the question who was paying, he did not want to divulge that. But he did divulge the fact that Katie and Chris were on the retainer. They signed the retainer. He did not say they paid. He didn't want to divulge that. So it almost implies someone else is paying for him to protect Katie and Chris. More Chris than Katie, I would assume. Mama Sock's money takes care of everything for old Chrissy Poo. And it's really sad and it's real disgusting. It's time for Chris to grow up and be a man. Be a man and realize that you've been fighting for custody for your daughter for 6 years. It's not going to happen. Leave her be. Let her live a life without worry and fear of what the next court case will be. But he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that because he doesn't play that way. He doesn't have feelings that are more important for his daughter than himself. Because if he gave up, Nina would win in his eyes. And he can't let that happen. Although, just like with Sebastian, Faith would be the winner there. His daughter would be the winner. But he sees it as a bad look upon him. I tell you, for him to be able to say she cannot wear leggings at all, that should be something that he says while she's at his house. If she wants to wear leggings, her mother's not going to let her just look like a super hoochie little girl. Her mother has class. You can tell that. But poor Faith can't wear leggings at all. He doesn't want her even to be on the Indian reservation when that's half of her heritage. He wants her to have nothing to do with it. When that's part of who she is. That's how nitpicking he is with his own daughter. Could you imagine how nitpicking he is when it comes to Sebastian? With a note I read, you don't believe he will be seeing Sebastian again. Is that the one the daughter wrote? There's been talk this morning I saw about Faith is supposed to testify. Faith is too young to testify. She's not going to testify. Sebastian was not even going to testify. I mean, that came from Nina herself. Hey, MF and Morgan. Thank y'all for being in here. Racist. Yeah. I mean, that pretty much puts him in that category, doesn't it? He doesn't want her to have anything to do with her Indian side of the family. It is so sad. Yeah, the older daughters. Yes. And I did hear that there was another version, another interview with Nina. There was not a second interview with Nina, just to clear that up. There was a conversation after she recorded what we heard her saying. She told Trevor Lee a few things that she forgot to mention. And he told those few things on Josh at the lab when he did his live and had Trevor Lee over there. And that's when Trevor Lee told us what she had forgot to say. But there is no other video. So if you hear that, it's just not. It's not. It's not out there. Yes, Seven True. The videos, like, the Bobby the neighbor whole thing is crazy. They wanted her to talk to them and tell them things. They were going to be her friend. Soon as she tells them everything she knows and says all the things they wanted to hear, as they are encouraging her to say all these things, they turn on her. They turn on her. They turn it to where Bobby's family is guilty. Her sons and her basically were out there in the middle of the night waiting for Sebastian to come out so that they could snatch him up. That's the kind of stuff that's being said. That's the stupidness of what we're dealing with. It's freezing in Florida, huh? Florida got a good snow. Playing flashlight tag, yes. Isn't that something? Now, mind you, Bobby's sons are way up into high school. I think one has already graduated. They got girlfriends. They're not going to be out there on a school night freezing playing flashlight tag. That is a game you play in the summer when you're young. They took that whole story. That whole story got twisted around and turned around. Bobby made the reference to when her kids did that when they were young. You know, when it finally comes out, the whole every bit of the case, I think there's going to be a lot of people on the other side. They're going to be surprised. There's going to be a lot. Yes. Think about it. They're going after the two people who have had firsthand encounters with Chris that are being tagged. Yeah. Yeah. SF didn't even know that about the hiding under the car incident. Insane. But he's not here to find Sebastian, guys. Remember that. That is not what he's getting paid for. I could almost guarantee you that. Shill Fisher is here to protect his clients. And that's it. So I just got an alert pop up on my phone. The mob crew is fixing to go live here in just a little bit. He will be having Jennifer Coffendorfer on tonight with him. And so we want to make sure we all go over there and listen because that will be an amazing live that we'll get to listen to. He is going to show her the Pinko video that he did proving that the only area that was covered by that light was the courtyard where the flashlights actually were. So y'all make sure to go over there and make sure to sub up to him. He does an amazing, wonderful job. And I would like to listen to Jennifer talk and give us her expert opinion, although the other side felt the need to um, completely debunk everything she had to say, because they know more than an FBI agent. It's crazy. So I'll be playing Uno while listening to them. But guys, thank you so much for being here tonight with me. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for letting me talk through it all. Like I said, it's been a little bit of a rough day. But you guys helped make it a little better. So thank you for that. I really appreciate y'all. And always remember to stay true to Sebastian. And if anybody gets off topic of Sebastian and wants to attack anyone else, it's not about Sebastian. So with that, I'm going to say love and hugs to everybody. I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.